Welcome to this emergency live stream. It's all going to be happening and right here live, and we're going to unpack it with you. I have a special guest from the United States of America who has been doing the rounds over the last few weeks at least. I guess confronting the new woke right with the truth, my friend, the misfit patriot who has promised to keep down his foul language, because I know
I'll try.
some of you are a little bit soft, but the world is, this is World War III, isn't it, misfit? For the seventh time
Yeah.
this year?
So I shared 4 days ago. I shared that post where it's like lawn furniture, and then one of the lawn chairs is falling over, and it's like when everybody in Florida gets like ready for a hurricane, and they're like, "This is going to be the worst hurricane ever." They go out and they buy the bread and milk, and they stock up on all this stuff, and then the next day. It's just one of your lawn chairs is like tipped over, and it's like
Yeah.
hurricane blah blah, never forget. And I said, like, this is going to be the same thing. I mean, hey, I could be wrong because there still could be retaliation, but
There'll
based
have to
off
be
of,
retaliation. There'll have to be
well,
retaliation, but but is the
but what
retaliation
can they do?
exactly? Is it anything that they're like, they bark loudly, and if they could,
Yeah,
they would. That's the danger about them. Make no mistake. If they had a nuke, like Alex Jones has been predicting the whole time, they
yeah.
would have used it by now. They
Oh,
do not
100%.
have the
They
capability.
would have
And
nuked it. They would have nuked Israel years ago. Like, if they had the nuke, they would have nuked Israel. So I don't think anybody actually thinks that they had the nuke. But I think that when you hear 60% enrichment, which is like three times the amount you would need for civilian use for nuclear facilities, like they're telling us, then I don't care if it's going to take them 10 years or 10 days, right? If they're already at that number, that's enough, right? So there's people online like Ian Carroll, and I
we'll
was
get to
just
all that. Let's just first start. I think let's set the scene
sure,
with the first Fox News report almost an
yeah,
hour ago. It
Inside
broke.
Iran. Just moments ago, President Donald Trump putting out on Truth Social, we have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. Again, this from President Donald Trump. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Again, that's
I can't help but crack up, because when I first, with any of Trump's statement, no, that's right. I'll move it because you're going to move
okay,
you're going to move your other screen. Um, it's whenever one of these statements come out, I'm thinking, surely this is not real. This is a fake Truth Social post. But every time
yeah,
it's real, the wording
yeah.
is real, and he says, "Thanks for your attention." What was your reaction when you first saw that?
Well, yeah, it's funny because I was taking like a light day on social media. I've been trying to do that more and more often because it's just getting so crazy. And Sean Farish is the one that he sent me a text, right? And he goes, and it had already been 38 minutes, and I had no idea. I'm normally like right on top of the news, and he goes, I'm actually enjoying the woke right reaction to bombing Iran more than I'm enjoying the fact that we just bombed Iran. And I go, we bombed Iran, and then I open up X, and I'm like, oh shit! And the first thing I see is Donald Trump like, we had just completed a very successful mission, and then yeah, he says stuff like, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." And a lot of people are like, "Is he trolling, or is that like a dig?" I think that's him actually trying to be professional and presidential, and he just trolls so much that people are like, "That's trolling." And it's like, no, that's him actually trying to be statesman like. But because he also says stuff like Pocahontas, people are like, they don't know that he has two sides.
So
Um,
in about half an hour, President Trump is going to speak, and we'll watch that live and react as it all unfolds, and we'll probably get more details. I've got a few channels of news around me going so that I can keep an eye on stuff. We'll finish watching this. We're setting
seconds ago from President Donald Trump on Truth Social, suggesting that those B-2 bombers that perhaps were on the way may have been behind this. We'll get more details on these 3 sites that the president said has been attacked inside Iran. This comes after days of negotiations to try to get Iran to the negotiating table.
That was the first news that they dropped. I'll see what else they've put up since then, and we'll jump into Al Jazeera in a minute to see how they're coping. I also want to read Ezra Levant's response, because I think there is so much on the right. There has been a clear campaign by what we call the woke right to kind of pressure Trump into not doing this. They've warned from everything from from Alex Jones saying that Iran has a nuke, they're going to use it, to if they do this, well, first they keep shifting the goalposts, let's say, because first Tucker promised if Israel struck Iran, that was going to cause tens of thousands of I can't remember if he said thousands of US lives. Nothing happened, and then the campaign has been for the last week since Israel started. The campaign was not to let America get involved, and that will be that will have devastating consequences. I think Dave Smith, the comedian, he's been harping on about what this is going to cause, and I just don't see it. It's not happening. None of that is happening.
Well, do you notice why? Like, I think that there's just so many examples of why the woke right title fits this group of people.
Yep.
With the woke left, everything is the most extreme thing. The world's going to end, climate change, we're all going to die in 10 years. And with the woke right, it's like World War III, World War III, World War III. And it's like, and then you have the people that are like me, who are like, listen, Trump fucking did the little rocket man thing with Kim Jong-un. Didn't end up in World War III, right? Trump has always had this this harsh rhetoric for bad actors, and the analogy I used the other day was he basically has the carrot or stick approach to his diplomacy, right? He shows the carrot, right, and then they turn it down, and then he shows them the stick. And then he goes, you have a few moments or a few days or a few weeks to decide if you want me to use this fucking stick, right? And he's only had to use it a couple of times. He's used it on Soleimani, al-Baghdadi. He's used it, with targeted strikes, but it never ended up in World War III. But make no fucking mistake.
You really can't get yourself not to swear. This is harder than...
Sorry, didn't even realize I was doing it. Make no mistake. He is going to do what he says he's going to do. So when he says you have 60 days, and then on day 61, he goes, hey, where you at? There's really nobody to blame except for Iran for this escalation, because it's not Joe Biden's America anymore. It's not Obama's America anymore. Right?
Donald Trump. The woke right are getting upset at the fact that Trump is doing everything he said, and they're trying to twist what he's ever said. They're saying he was the no new wars guys. Mate, this is not going to be a new war.
It's not a new one. Yeah.
It's not. Firstly, it's not a new one, but also it's not Iraq. It's not Syria. This is not going to be. There are no boots on the ground. The only boots that are going to be on the ground there are the Mossad and the people rising up in Iran.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing, right? You touched on it. It's not George Bush, right? So comparing it to Iraq is ridiculous, right? Because George Bush was a war hawk who was engaging in that conflict for either nefarious or personal reasons, right? That was a war that they wanted to last. Trump has never signaled that he wants that to happen, and he's also, I mean, what are they going to do as far as like what is Iran going to do? Who's going to get involved? Russia's already tied up with Ukraine. China's not going to fuck around with, losing the TikTok deal that he just extended.
I don't know what's going to happen first. This is World War III, or you're going to stop swearing. I don't know which one's less possible.
I gotta really get conscious of it. All right, I'll try to think. I'm not like, I don't think I've even been.
It's funny because in Australia we swear. Like I swear a lot. but I've learnt not to do it live. Just I think some people just get
I just gotta treat you like I gotta treat you like I'm on a cable news network. And I even did it on Sid Rosenberg, he had me on, and I swore once too. So it's late. I just think it's late night
No, no,
TV.
no.
So
We appreciate you coming on, and especially because
I'll try.
I've noticed that there are some people. There's even some people who, through all of this, have stayed consistent on it and are willing to battle the other side. You're one of them. I don't care what
Mhm.
people think about Laura Loomer. She's one of them. She's been going to war with the biggest names, and she's cutting through. And
Yeah.
guess what? I guarantee that people like Laura Loomer are going to come out, all of this, basically, vindicated. And
Yeah.
and
Laura Loomer got a lot of respect.
half the woke
Right?
right, because they're such grifters, are going to try to come back in somehow and claim
Yeah.
the win. So they're going to backtrack somehow. Let's just read Ezra Levant, my boss's, response to the thing. I think he makes some really valid points. Some thoughts on Trump's surgical strike on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. 1, Trump called for the removal of the Iranian nukes for more than a decade. Long before he ran for office, he's done it at least 100 times, which is a point that
Mhm.
everybody, especially the woke right, every Trump hater and the woke right, pretend is not true. They act like Trump said
Mhm.
he was going to come in and just end wars without, like, through
Yeah.
weakness. He literally used
Yeah.
to post strength through peace through
Peace through
strength,
strength.
which
Well,
which the idea is that sometimes you have to bomb. Like, he's always done that.
peace through strength doesn't mean anything if you're not willing to act on red lines. And also, when these people try saying this is not what I voted for, yes, it is.
Yes.
It's 100% what you voted for, because what you voted for was Donald Trump's campaign promises, right? One of his campaign promises was Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. So he's following through on a promise made, and he's keeping it. Now, you got the operation itself, right, where they took B-2 bombers and they started flying them west. I think it was out of Hawaii. And that was a diversion tactic, because they also had another couple of B-2 bombers that flew out of a decommissioned airbase, I believe it was, and they were flying east. So you had Iran thinking, oh well, if those bombers are coming for us, we got a day or so, and then boom, this strike happens. It was a masterclass in how you execute one of these operations. Our planes are already gone. You had submarines firing tomahawks from the sea, and you hit 3 different air bases instead of just the major one. What Trump just did was he kind of made it so they don't have a retaliatory option, right? Like, what are they going to do? This is
What
what
are
I
they gonna
said to I said it in the debate with Owen Schroyer a couple days ago. I go, what are they going to do?
do?
I mean, I honestly, I'm a little worried for
There's
Israel.
reports there's reports that even Hezbollah, um, refused to get involved when they were asked
Yeah,
by Iran. That's how weak they are at the moment. Is that
yeah.
nobody is listening to them? Like, maybe
I,
the Houthis, but the Houthis, no offense, they come from. I'm Yemen. I know what the Houthis are about.
Iran.
They're cavemen.
The best analogy you can give for Iran, and actually for the Islamic terror regimes in general over time, they really are like the schoolyard bully,
Yep.
right? The schoolyard bully that just goes over and over again, and he beats on the little kid, beats on the weak kid, and then as soon as a bigger bully comes and punches him in the face, starts crying,
Yeah.
and he stops immediately. Peace through strength it applies so well when you're dealing with radical Islam,
I'm gonna
especially
read all the
radical.
super chats, guys. So
I
the
wrote
first
down I
super
wrote down
chat.
no swearing. I
No
got
swearing.
no
Look, well,
swearing.
super. The chats are supporting your swearing, but I'm still gonna hold my ground. We won't have to. So it says, "I stand with swearing, dude. Free the f bomb." Thank you, Baz. Appreciate all super
I'm
chats. We'll get.
dropping more bombs than Trump, apparently.
Uh, Look, I think I get it. Firstly, we're running on 2 YouTube channels, and sometimes YouTube
No, I
isn't a
got you.
big fan of it. But also, some of the audience don't appreciate the swearing, especially the Christian base. Guys, we've got almost 9,000 with us. Welcome to everybody. Make sure to hit like, share the stream. Trump is going to start speaking in about 20 minutes. We'll run that live. and then we'll go and watch how Al Jazeera is coping and get the latest of the actual attacks. Everything we'll unpack here live. But let's go. I want to see what else Ezra wrote regarding this. So his point two, his explanation is simple as it is obvious. Iran is run by a death cult that longs for the apocalypse, and it has shown that letting them have nukes would be tantamount to letting a terrorist group have nukes, as opposed to a rational state like China or India. Which, that's a good point. Like, I hate these people that turn around and say, "Well, what's the difference between Israel and Iran having nukes?"
Exactly. Well, Owen tried that with me in the debate a couple days ago, and I said, "Okay, well, why can America have nukes?" That's what because they won't answer that question. You don't think that there's a difference between if you don't think there's a difference between Iran and Israel, then you shouldn't think that there's a difference between Iran and America.
Exactly.
Right? So if you think that's a good talking point, that's how you shut it down. You go, "Okay, why can America have nukes?"
Yeah.
And then they'll say, "Oh, because we're responsible." Okay, well, so is Israel. So is India. So is China. So is Russia. They don't fire their nukes at each other. Like, Iran chants death to America. They chant. They literally they speak like a party. Who this is the way I described it. I go, imagine if your neighbor, right, had all the materials in their house that they could use to build a bomb, and they kept telling you that they're going to bomb you, right? Like, if you thought, like, okay, they have the material and they keep telling me they're going to bomb me, I think I might want to call somebody and go get the bomb materials out. And they can't show up and be like, "Yeah, but they haven't built the bomb yet." Yeah, but they're gonna.
And when do you want us to be able to do something? Once they have it and they're going to use it. Like, it is the dumbest argument. It's the most dishonest argument. And to compare the two is, okay, you can make that comparison when one, Israel is run by an Islamist regime, a death cult that calls for the annihilation of any other people.
Yeah.
It never happens. The regime you don't see rallies for death to anyone in Israel. So the idea that you're comparing the two is either, at best dishonest, at worst, you're really, you're Iranian shills and you're trying to prop up, it's not even, you know what? I'm giving them too much credit. They're not even Iranian shills. They literally just hate Jews. That's the bottom line.
I think that there's a lot of mass psychosis through groupthink, and I think that there are some Iranian shills. Some people are being paid by Qatar. Some of them are.
Sure.
And then I think that there's a lot of mass psychosis and groupthink, right? Because groupthink is a very powerful tool, right? If a creator that you agree with says something, you subconsciously agree with it without doing any research because you like that creator. So you have these people like Ian Carroll's and Tucker Carlson's and Matt Walsh's and Dave Smith's, who they say that they say something which isn't really, based in fact. It's based in emotion and it's based in their own biases. And then either another creator that's either large or a bunch of creators that are small will parrot it. And that's how it takes over. That's how disinformation happens. That's how propaganda works. Propaganda has worked this way for
I hate
this
crowd. I literally hate this crowd for making me realize how much disinformation there is. You know what the mainstream media used to say about anything anyone said during COVID? Like, this is what these guys have made real. Like, it's just so shocking and disappointing that.
Well, so Owen said Owen was like trying to do that dismissive thing where I go, they chant death to America, and he goes, who cares if they chant death to America? They chant that on college campuses. He goes, where did their words hurt you? And my response to him was, their words hurt you when it turns into action. Right.
Exactly.
So there was a literal terrorist attack in January where a man strapped an ISIS flag to the back of his truck and ran over a bunch of people in New Orleans. There was a terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado, where a man had 2 Molotov cocktails and he was setting Jews on fire. There was a terrorist attack in Washington in the Jewish Museum where 2 young people were shot. So where did their words hurt us? On American soil 3 times this year. That's where their words hurt us. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying get rid of the First Amendment. I'm saying when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yep. A couple super chats and then we'll continue reading Ezra's statement. We've got about 15 minutes, I think, till Trump takes those. I always admire Avi Yemini and rely on him. Thank you, Joel Doyle, for your super chat there and your kind words. And Ben, thank you for your super chat, says, Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter, which I still, it
It's such
was
a
that
great
line that made me question if it was real.
it's such a great line.
And I got to say, until I got used to Trump's Truth Social announcements, I would have
Mhm.
ignored it because you see it like all of a sudden somebody
Yeah.
posts something like this on X and you go like it's I'm just like, oh, it's probably like that Suleiman or the
Yeah.
right of those like lies you just create. But every time it ends up being real with Trump, and I'm here for it.
Well, the
I'm
thing
loving
is,
it.
they post like fake Trump tweets that
Oh,
are like ridiculous, but you also can't tell if they're real or not too.
I
Like
know.
they'll post something and it's like it'll be something like really ridiculous, and then it'll say Trump, and I'm like, I honestly have to go look at his page and see if that's real. Like even though it's kind of like crazy.
All right, so Ezra continues, says Trump's vision of America first does not mean pacifism or appeasement, which is what we were saying. It means America isn't into nation building or into foreign
Yeah.
entanglements. A surgical strike is the opposite of an entanglement. It's like when Trump lobbed a few cruise missiles at Syria in his first term, or when he cleaned out ISIS in a few weeks. Short and sharp. Exactly. You know
Trump
what? This
also
is
shows
why
a
he's
lot of
my boss.
restraint.
He articulates my points better than me.
Yeah. She also shows restraint a lot, right? Trump shows some restraint, like I believe it was Syria that took out some military drones, American drones, and Trump was like, "Hey, I could do a retaliatory strike on them," and he goes, "But 40, I think the civilian casualties were going to be like 40." And he goes, "Yeah, it's just a drone. We're not going to do it." So he doesn't always. He's not somebody that goes to the nuclear option like all the time. He
Yeah.
tries to show restraint, but this is something that you cannot do. You cannot say, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this, and then not
That's
do
like
it.
Obama. Obama did that, the red lines. And that's
Correct.
the thing. That's why nobody took America seriously. The thing with Trump is he often promises the most outrageous threat, but
Hmm.
nobody knows if he's going to actually carry it out because he is unpredictable in the fact that he will you don't know which one he'll follow through on. And that
Yeah.
is only possible because he does things like this, because he does stand up and he doesn't cower to the lunatics of even his same side. I've got a
Yeah.
couple super chats quickly. We've got L, thank you for this super chat. Says on one side you have people that marry 12-year-old girls. On the other side, you have people that that cut the tips off 13-year-old
13-year-old
peepees. Why
boys,
would Australia
PP.
want to get involved?
I think
Who
he's talking about
cuts?
Jews and
Yeah, I
Jews.
don't know who
Yeah.
cut 13-year-old boys' peepees. I think you may misunderstand what Judaism like, but I appreciate the super chat, even though you got it completely wrong. Jews do circumcisions at 8 days old. In fact, I think it's actually Muslims do 13, do they? Or they? I think they do it when they're
Well,
teenagers.
Muslims will cut the clitoris off of a girl at
That that that,
13.
that's true. But I'm saying in this look, and also in this comment, which I still appreciate your super chat. Why would Australia want to get involved? Nobody is asking for Australia to get involved. What
No,
the heck is Australia going
Australia's
to
just gonna
do?
keep Australia's just gonna keep drinking and shit. They're fine.
Let's
They're out
just
of it.
like send some kangaroos. I don't know. Well, like, what are
Well,
we gonna do?
can we talk about that for a quick second? I am really like I'm insulted at the amount of people that think that America is going to get involved because of Israel, right? America's going to get involved because of America, right? The talking point that is parroted by these morons on the woke
Yeah.
right, where they're like, "Oh, America's doing Israel's bidding." Like, hey, I don't know if you guys know this, but Israel is a country the size of New Jersey. All right. They're not telling America what to do. Right now, we have a relationship with them. We are, I would say, good partners, good allies, but by no means is America doing the bidding of Israel. We want Israel there strategically for our own best interests. So if there's a threat to Israel, there's a threat to America. That's why we're getting involved. And it's not just because of Israel, too. Like I told you, there's this notion that even if Iran had a nuke, it's not a threat to America. Bullshit, right? They're like, oh, it can't even cross the ocean. They can't do anything. Yeah, you can load it into a truck, though, right? Like you can load it, you can put it on a boat, right? You can get it across the border somehow, right? You could pay some border agent to look the other way when you're crossing a checkpoint, and then you can detonate it in one of our largest cities. It doesn't have to come from a rocket. A nuke is a nuke is a nuke. You can set them off different ways. So Iran having a nuke, period, is not happening, and Trump just proved that.
It's definitely not happening now. Now, Abby King did a super chat, which I can't bring up on screen because it's probably the wording is going to probably nuke our YouTube streams, but I'll read it out with a slight change to it so it doesn't get us into trouble.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the super chat, Abby King. As usual, one of our regulars. I support anyone fighting against radical Islam. It is pure evil and is knocking at the door of every household living in the Western world. Countries need to unite in this fight. Avi, you get Sunday rates today. Because Abby is one of our most loyal supporters to these live streams. I really appreciate your support. But I've just added one word in there so that we don't get nuked off YouTube. But I get what you're saying, and I totally, absolutely agree. And I think that the West needs to wake up. And those, especially on the woke right now, that have gone, if you look at those groups 5 years ago, at the height of the or 7 years ago, 8 years ago, at the height of like ISIS and what was going on there. Yeah. They're all the same voices that were actually articulating exactly the problem.
They're on the exact other side. It's literally, it is literally a 180 with these people. You can go, except for Dave Smith, right? Dave Smith's not even woke right. Dave Smith's always left. He's always like Douglas Murray. When Douglas Murray said that, like that line in the debate on Joe Rogan, where he goes, "I think libertarians are like the bisexuals of politics."
Yeah, that was fun.
And look, Dave didn't even laugh. Dave didn't even laugh.
You know what? The thing is, in Australia, the libertarians, there's two groups of libertarians here. So I find that in one state here, the libertarians are a bit like Dave Smith. In my state, the libertarians are much more normal. Massey. They're more conservative, I think, when it comes to these issues.
Okay, yeah. So, and speaking of the libertarians, right? You got Thomas Massey, and I don't know how deep you know about American politics, but Thomas Massey coming out immediately and saying this is unconstitutional what President Trump did. The commander-in-chief is the highest-ranking officer in the military, and I want to say it's Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, which gives him powers like preemptive strikes or military action against any type of perceived threat, right? Now, making a declaration of war where you literally say, we are going to war, America is going to war with this country, that takes an act of Congress. So Thomas Massey and a bunch of people are doing this clever little word game where they're like, in order to go to war, the president needs to consult us. And he's absolutely right. But in order to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, president doesn't need to ask you. I almost did it. I almost swore. The president doesn't need to ask you anything. Right? I caught myself.
One. Well done.
See, I got
we've got about 7 minutes till Trump is scheduled to speak. We'll keep reading what Ezra wrote. But guys, those of you tuning in, the 10,240 of you, welcome to the stream. Make sure to share, share. Whatever channel you're watching this on, whatever platform, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get the lives. But most importantly, share this stream so that we beat the mainstream media here in Australia.
Make sure you send this to Elijah Schaefer too, and tell him that Avi didn't have to put me on Spirit Airlines to get me on his show.
No, and I didn't have to pay you either.
No, nothing. The woke right service fee is waived for you. You're absolutely right.
Mate, that guy is the biggest douchebag.
Did you see what
I know so much about? Like, I don't like getting involved in those little
the spats. I love them.
I love the drama. I know so much about that guy. I have a good friend that used to be on his show. He is the lowest of the low. You got to be pretty low to get.
I did not know. Even when I came at him, so like I made that whole fake contract and I was just trolling him, and I was like, but anyway, I it wasn't until after I did that somebody sent me all the stuff about him, the sexual harassment, all the crazy stuff. I'm like, what? I would have totally talked about that last time. But anyway,
I think giving these guys, like he always, I think he tags me, but he writes about me. I think he shares my post and he's trying to bait me into his little orbit, because these guys thrive on trying to, like, because I'm Jewish and I'm proudly Jewish, They thrive, and there's he's trying to be the Nick
Well,
Fuentes or the second
yeah,
Nick Fuentes, and there's nothing better than debating a Jew, even if you're wrong. Um,
yeah.
so that's their little game. I'm not going to feed into it.
No, I see. I like to feed into it, but I mean,
Yeah, I know you do.
what I kind of do is I sort of match energy with these people, and I say it all the time. I go, there shouldn't be too many of me because the whole internet would just be chaos. But with what he did was the reason why I went after him. I was being well respected. He wanted me to go on a show, and he was like I said, I didn't know that stuff about him. But it wasn't until he made a post where I was on your show with Ian, and he insulted you. And when he insulted you, he insulted me, but by default, right? Because he goes, "This is who this guy is." He was talking about you. This is who he's aligning with now. And I'm like,
It's such a
I'm like,
lefty tactic.
I'm
It's a
like,
such
bro.
a
I go, you just booked me on your show, and you
I
can
know.
kiss that.
I found that hilarious, but it's such a lefty
Yeah,
tactic to go guilty by association. Like,
yeah,
oh, how can you be friends with that guy? That guy's, and that used to happen to me at protests. Like, I would go with my camera guy, who at the time might have been a Proud Boy or whatever, and they go. So the Antifa would go to me, how could I associate with him? And then they would turn to him and they go, how can you associate with him? That's exactly what they all do. And also what I found funny about his little screenshot that he shared mocking the live stream that we were running is that he said how like we've crashed, I don't know, scraping the bottom of the barrel, having you and Ian. Like, and the funny thing is the whole show was basically us debating
us,
Ian.
yeah, us going after Ian.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just saw this pop up, and Dan Holloway is one of these guys that I respect a lot. He's
Yeah.
one of the
Is it
one
on
of the
Twitter?
best guys. Yeah, it's on Twitter, and it's Dave Smith. He's responding to Dave Smith. Dave Smith. Dave Smith says Donald Trump has now launched an illegal war of aggression against Iran. The risk of absolute catastrophe is very high. The benefits are non-existent, et cetera, et cetera. Now I'll try to censor this for you. But Dan responds, this is R word nonsense. First, it's not illegal, and I was actually right. Article 2, Section 2. Second, the benefits are non-existent, question mark. A non-nuclear Iran isn't a benefit? You can disagree with the move, but this is a silly string of false statements. This is what I'm saying. These people are essentially arguing that Iran having a nuke is a good thing, or Iran even having the ability or the capability for a nuke is a good thing. Or even if they're not saying it's a good thing, they're saying that it's less bad than a potential, right? A hostile Iran, right? Like, and I'm like, Iran's already hostile. Like, that's what I'm saying. What the difference between yesterday and today is nothing other than now Iran doesn't have nuclear facilities. They
It
still
doesn't
hate
have the
America.
capability, ability.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they hate
Quickly,
us just as much as they did yesterday.
we've got the president on standby, so we've got a screen up waiting to see him come on. Australian troops are on standby. Trust me. El Non Seb, thank you again for the super chat. I hope they're on standby. They should always
Yeah,
be
they're
on
always
standby.
going to be on standby.
Like, I don't think they're on standby for boots on the ground in Iran, though. I think a lot of you are going to be
We're
most
not going to Iran.
surprised and shocked about how this unfolds, and probably a
what
much
people
better
don't
world.
what people don't understand is if America wanted to fight Iran by themselves, right? Like if it was literally a one-on-one fight, we could destroy Iran with drones and ships from
Yeah.
like hundreds of miles away. We don't need to put an American soldier on soil
There's no
to
American
beat
soldiers on there.
Iran. That's insane, right? The reason why the Iraq conflict was different, even though it was a horrible conflict, right? Was troops had to go in because they had to go find something, right? Like
Yeah.
they had to go these weapons of mass destruction that George Bush said were there. There's no need for that. We can just bomb them.
Oh no, it's coming.
Like
on
people think it's going to $2
for the smoko. Appreciate your super chat. Do you know what a smoko is?
Here's $2 for the smoko.
Do you know what smoko is?
No idea.
That's a smoking break in Australia. That's what you call, like, when you're working at at your work site or whatever. You have 5-minute smokos. They're 5-minute smoking breaks. There you go. Give you a bit of culture there, a culture lesson. So we're waiting for the president now to speak. I've got it on the other channel. But we'll just keep reading Trump's. Guys, make sure to share. We've got number 4. What do you say? This is from Ezra Levant. His 4th point. Trump also didn't risk Americans. He let Israel clean up Iranian air defenses for a week. Absolutely so true. 5. Qatar paid influencers have been talking about no war for Israel, but Netanyahu didn't ask for U.S. intervention. The opposite, actually. Since October 7, 2023, he wanted America to stop telling Israel to fight with one hand behind its back like Biden did. That's also another great point. 6. People forget how anti-American Iran has been under the mullahs. Death to America
Correct.
is their slogan. They kidnapped American diplomats in the 70s. They murdered 200 plus U.S. Marines in Lebanon. They were a large menace in Iraq, likely responsible for most U.S. deaths there. They harbored the Taliban after 9/11. They tried to assassinate Trump personally. They are America's enemy as much as Israel's. 100%.
And what people don't understand, a lot of the attacks that come from some other group that you've never heard of is actually Iran. When you say proxy group, right? The proxy group, it's like all of these conflicts that happen at military bases, like the ones where you had those like dozens of Marines that got concussions, like all of that's tied to Iran. It's all the same thing. They are the number 1 state sponsor of terrorism, right? So they create the most amount of terrorists, and it's this regime that's creating the terrorists. So
did you hear Dave Smith's response to that in the debate against Constantine? It was hilarious because he goes, Dave Smith's response was, well, then you could say that Israel is America's proxy. And it's and then I'm like, you know what? Let's pretend
that's kind of true.
It's kind of true.
Okay.
It's kind of true in that way.
We're the good guys. We're the good guys, Dave.
But that goes against all his other arguments because he's always argued that Israel controls America.
Yeah. So it would. Yeah. Which is it?
Trump
right?
speaking.
Okay, good. My food's coming in 5 minutes, so we'll try to do limited commentary only if he says something. Yeah, I'm looking at John Spencer's page. He's my go-to because he's a military strategist.
Let's listen to the president.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow.
President Trump there at the White House, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio also serving as his national security.
Sorry, there we go.
You know what? I like how he ended that, man. Like I said, like you brought up earlier, you couldn't tell if he was trolling with his last tweet, and I told you I don't think he's doing that. I think he's being a statesman. He said, "God bless the Middle East first, then God bless Israel, then God bless America." He really is trying to be diplomatic here, where he goes, "Listen, we did this, right, because they did that, but we want this to be done, right? We want God bless the Middle East. We don't want an escalation." I think that last line, how he signed off there, is important to remember.
Yep, I agree with you, and that was probably one of his shortest, direct speeches, and he was surrounded by the people that there has been so much controversy as to where they each stand. Like I saw even an hour before, there's so much disinformation being spread by the online anti-Israel mugger. I don't even think we should call them MAGA. Like, I just don't. They're not.
No, they're not MAGA. You know what the thing is? They're hijacking that. I said that. You know what? I made an analogy the other day about like the woke right. I go, you know what they remind me of? They remind me of Leah Thomas, right? The men and women's sports thing, where it's like they jump into a movement where they can win, right? Because if they tried competing on their own, they would lose, right? It's the same thing with libertarians, right? Libertarians, you know why people don't like libertarians? Because they lose. They only get 3% of the vote. It's like Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey is a rhino, which means a Republican in name only. He's in the Republican Party, but he's not a Republican. And these people are in the Republican Party, but they're not Republicans. They're woke right. They're completely different. They're trans right. They're men and women's sports. They don't fit. They're not in the MAGA movement. They're not America first. They're Israel last. They're fringe right or dissident right. They're not reactionaries like Andrew Wilson said in our debate. They're just straight up extremists and contrarians. So they aren't anything really. They're sort of this weird fringe nothing. So I think we should call them the trans right. They're fake. They're not what they appear to be. Just like, trans people.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a few people that have jumped on board. It's so weird because they jumped in kind of late to the game, like Prosobic and whatever, these kind of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you jump in now when it became kind of obvious at this point that you guys were actually picking the losing team?
I don't trust. I kind of don't trust anybody that used to be anti-Trump and then is Trump now, and then
Who
now
was anti-Trump?
is
Prosobic was never anti-Trump.
Tucker Carlson.
Oh, Tucker's a complete liar. He's a fraud. Like,
exactly.
If you believe him after that court case that they had and his messages about Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Privately, what he was saying about Trump.
Yeah, it's like,
why
I hate
would
Trump.
you believe anything he says? He's completely...
And then Trump destroyed him in true Trump fashion with one tweet. He called him kooky Tucker Carlson, right? And it's like, But that's what I'm saying. And you have a bunch of people who, hey, Candace Owens falls into this category too. Candace Owens started her social media career as a far leftist, and then she jumped onto the right wing, and now she's sort of I think that they retract back to their default setting, where it's like, then you got the people like hate to keep bringing him up, it's just fresh in my memory, but Owen Schroyer, who's like, I'm the base and I've been here since 2015. Okay, you may have been here since 2015, but you're not the base, right? It's like, if you now disagree with Trump on so many things, right, then you're not the base. You're saying Trump changed. Trump has never changed. I just pulled up a tweet from Dan Bongino in 2012 where he was like, we stand with Israel. Trump, we stand with Israel. Right?
They're all like that. The thing is, the only people that have changed are the ones that go on against
the anti-Israel. Exactly. It's like Israel is this litmus test for this mass psychosis.
You know what? Israel's always been the litmus test for me. Whenever I want to judge somebody's moral compass, I looked at what they said from Israel. It's just, I'm telling you, a lot of those people.
My judge, if you support Andrew Tate or if you hate Israel, I immediately get the ick, right? Where I'm like, nope, I'm sorry.
It's people mistake it because they think that I'm like tribal because I'm Jewish. It's not, like, I literally just think it is a good way to gauge somebody's moral compass. If you stand like,
before October 7th, I couldn't have pointed to Israel on a map. Yeah. Right. So I'm not tribal at all. I still say I don't even know.
But like you can have problems with Israeli policy, and this is what they always try to hide behind. They're like, oh, I just started criticizing Israel, and they tried to.
Yeah, but that's another weird thing, right? Why do you fucking care? Oh, sorry. Why do you care about Israeli politics? Right? You're an American. Like, there's a lot of people in America. There's a lot of people in the UK. There's a lot of people around the world that are so involved in Israeli politics. I've never even really gotten into that part of it. I support the Jewish people because I told you this on a previous stream that we were on, right? I feel like I have like a biblical mandate to support the Jewish people. And I also really hate Islamic terrorists. So when you put those two things together, like Ted Cruz did a horrible job on the Tucker Ambush interview, where and you know what? Listen,
I don't think I watched the whole thing, and those short clips. It's like cheap gotcha moments to Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you watch the actual whole thing, when it came to substantial.
He did a good job.
Ted Cruz, he's just up against the whole internet, whether it's the Islamists, the woke
it's
right.
It's the debate me bro tactic. It's the Dave Smith, Andrew Wilson debate me bro tactic, where you go, oh, if you can't, like, Liv Wayne, who's an awesome creator, she goes, oh, you're a Christian, name me every book in numerology. Like, fucking, it's like, that's what Tucker did. It's what Andrew Wilson does. It's what Dave Smith does. They just throw a bunch of obscure fact questions that they've memorized. And then if you can't answer it, then
we're streaming to Rebel News as well. So I'll play. Ezra did I think he's out on a cruise somewhere. Instead of reading his thing, let's watch his response to it all.
Hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here from Rebel News. I see that Donald Trump has announced that the United States has performed a surgical attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Let me read to you his post on Truth Social moments ago. He said, "We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." I have some thoughts on this. The first is that it's no surprise. I mean, I suppose the timing might be a surprise, but even that Trump alluded to the other day. Trump has called for the removal of Iranian nukes for more than a decade. Even before he ran for office, he must have done it 100 times. If you don't believe me, just check Twitter or his video comments. His explanation for this is as simple as it is obvious. Iran is run by a death cult. The Ayatollahs, they long for an apocalypse, and They've showed that. Letting them have nukes would be tantamount to letting a terrorist group have nukes, as opposed to a more rational state like China or India. Trump's vision of America first does not mean pacifism or appeasement. It means America isn't into nation building or into foreign entanglements. A surgical strike is the opposite of an entanglement. It's like when Trump lobbed a few cruise missiles at Syria in his first term, or when he cleaned out ISIS in a few weeks. Short and sharp. Trump also didn't risk Americans. He let Israel's Air Force clean up Iranian air defenses for a week. Qatar paid influencers online have been talking about no war for Israel, but Netanyahu didn't ask for U.S. intervention. The opposite, actually. Since the terrorist attack against Israel on October 7th, 2023, Netanyahu has wanted America to stop telling Israel to fight with one hand tied behind its back, like Biden did. People forget how anti-American Iran has been under the mullahs. Death to America is their slogan. They kidnapped American diplomats in the 70s. They murdered 200 U.S. Marines in Lebanon. They were a large menace in Iraq, still are to this day. They're likely responsible for most U.S. deaths in Iraq. They harbored the Taliban after 9/11. They tried to assassinate Trump personally. They are America's enemy as much as Israel's enemy. Now, Israel wiped out Hezbollah and the bulk of Iran's military and terrorist regime, with the U.S. doing the one special mission that Israel does not have the technology to do. No one could possibly think that the world isn't safer today. This is not the start of a war, let alone a world war. Russia has made it clear it's going to stay out of this. If anything, this clears the way for the next round of Abraham Accords, the peace treaties between Israel and other Muslim countries. Watch the price of oil in the days ahead. I predict it will not go up. Things are more stable in the Middle East now, not less so. In terms of regime change, most of the world, except for Qatar-paid influencers, want the Ayatollahs to go, and the Shah's son could be a successor. The Iranian people are largely liberal and secular and educated and somewhat wealthy. It's not like Afghanistan or Somalia, which are failed states. Iran could move forward under a normal government, but even if it doesn't, a defanged Ayatollah is not much of a risk to anyone. Their main risk in the weeks ahead, I think, is an Islamist terrorist cell in the West. In fact, that's precisely what Keir Starmer said to Trump this week. According to the Daily Telegraph newspaper, Starmer warned that Iranian sleeper cells in the UK could be activated if America does something in Iran. But that's a U.S. immigration and police problem, not a U.S. foreign affairs or military problem. Canada, well, Canada has no role other than issuing press releases that no one of any consequence considers, except that in recent weeks, the Israeli government has warned that members of the Ayatollah's regime may be fleeing to Canada. That's where they would join hundreds of Iranian operatives working unmolested by police here right now. Look, the world is more peaceful today than it was before, and America's reputation is markedly stronger than it was 6 months ago under Biden. Whether you're Russia, China, North Korea, or Yemen, it's pretty obvious now that when Trump tells you you have 60 days to negotiate a peace deal, he means it. America's
Exactly.
back. No more Obama pallets of cash for your enemies. The world is less dangerous. America's enemies are weaker. Its friends are stronger. Not a drop of American blood has been spilled.
That's important.
I think that's what America First looks like.
Correct.
He's so
exactly.
Right.
I
think that was him just reading what I've been trying to work.
Yeah, no, he did.
Yeah.
I took a couple of notes while he was talking, right? He said that America went and did the one thing that Israel couldn't do, right? And the reason what he was meaning by that is Israel doesn't have B-2 bombers. These bunker busters, these Moabs, they're like 4,000 tons, I think. They're so big and so heavy. The way that they work is they set off an initial blast, right, which goes down about 200 feet, creates a 25 or 250 foot crater. And then a secondary charge goes into that crater and goes down even deeper. And these nuclear facilities that Iran put basically under heavy rock and mountain, Israel had no way to destroy them because Israel doesn't have the planes. Even if America was to sell Israel the bombs, right? They don't have the B-2 bomber that can carry it.
Yeah.
So America has these B-2 bombers. So it was really basically going to be, Trump was basically in a position where America's fingerprint was going to be on it no matter what, because we can't just sell Israel the weapon and rent them the plane because they don't even have the pilot, right? So it's like, so I think what Trump did was he goes, hey, why the fuck don't we just do it? Oh, sorry, why don't we just do it?
And then we can
Like,
take
why
the
don't
credit. He really wanted the credit as well.
Yeah, and I said that too, and I think that I was trolling a little bit, and some of my Israeli friends actually got mad at me where I go, I think America should do it because I want America to take the credit. But you know what? Here's the thing. Israel deserves way more credit for all of the IRGC leadership that they've taken out over the past weeks. You got the Hezbollah pager operation. You've got the targeted strikes on the IRGC leadership. They have been doing, for a country the size of New Jersey, right? I wouldn't want to mess with them, right? They're surrounded on all sides by these enemies that hate them, and they're actually feared, not because of America, not because of the fact that we have their back. They're feared because of their own capabilities, Mossad and their military tech. It's something to be admired. I think I think that the people that want to have Israel as an enemy, I can't hear you. The people that want to have Israel as an enemy, that's a stupid way to go.
Well, yeah, I'm saying, like, point to me one place in history where somebody's pulled off something even close to even just the beeper operation
the
that
beeper bomb.
Israel, and any other example ends up being other Israeli operations like Entebbe. You just don't have this. That's a thing. Like, and when people ask what America gets out of Israel, they also they get access to that.
Yeah,
They get access to that.
There's this talking point that you hear from the woke right, where it's like America. I'm tired of America being taken advantage of by Israel. We give them $380 billion in aid and blah blah. And then I bring up the fact that through direct spending, and through trade, we actually have a $1 billion a year surplus. And they go, that's not true because they spend the money that we give them in America. And I go, I know that's how global economics works. But if you really break it down, an economist will break it down for you. It's not a big surplus.
I want to actually check out some of the reactions from the woke right as well as Al Jazeera.
Oh,
we'll have a look. There's a lot happening here. I just want to give a shout out to Lucas. Someone go wake up Emperor Babette. Babette is a, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a Victorian senator in my state, which I get on well with. But let's just say he loves Andrew Tate, and he chat GPTs a bunch of his tweets, I reckon, about this issue. He has no idea what he's talking about. Yeah. He sits on both sides of the fence. He's anti-jihad, but then he also wants to be part of that woke right where they're isolationists at all costs. He talks about, he makes stupid clickbait tweets lately of, not one Australian soldier needs to die for this. It's like, mate.
Oh, the meme. I actually just pulled up the meme, right, where it's like, I'm not effing dying for Israel, right? Where it's this one, and it's like Ian Smith Sr., that dude that didn't shut his gym down during COVID. He's like a big anti-Israel guy, and I'm like, bro, you're not dying for Israel. Like you're a 40-something-year-old dude. Like you're not getting drafted. What are you talking about?
They all say I've seen ones that say I saw one a couple of weeks ago. I didn't know who she was, but she gained a lot of traction because it's really easy with all the bots and the actual hate. But she goes, I don't want my kids to die for Israel. And then I looked it up, and her kids, she had one daughter that's like 4 years old. I'm like, bro, they're not getting drafted.
Let's look at this tweet from Ian.
I'll pull it up 2 seconds. Let me just read this last thing.
Go ahead.
Anthony, thank you for the super chat. Big fan of Rebel News. Keep up the good fight. Greetings from California. There you go. It's your president.
California.
California. I didn't say that. I think he'll probably agree if he's watching Rebel News.
Yeah, exactly.
Whose tweet? I'll pull it up on the screen.
Go to Ian Smith Senior from it's Ian Smith. It's Ian Smith Fitness is his username.
Ian Smith Fitness.
It's 26 minutes ago.
26 minutes ago. Let's see how the woke right he's a woke right.
Oh, he's super woke right.
Okay, let's see how they're coping. Iran. Okay, so 26 minutes ago. That one. Yep.
Yeah.
Got you here. Give it a read.
Iran has vowed revenge and that any and all U.S. citizens in the area are a target. There are 40,000 Americans within easy striking distance of Iran. Donald Trump knew this and acted anyway. Regardless if there is a counterstrike, this is a reckless action against American lives on behalf of a foreign nation America allows. Okay, so every time, so what he's basically saying is every time throughout the past 50 years, 100 years, whatever, as long as the military has been in a different country, if you take any preemptive strike, you should be more concerned about what they're going to do in retaliation, because according to him, we're not able to deal with that, right? Like, so this is the I got to be careful what I say because you told me not to swear, but this is the femininity of American culture that has taken over, where it's like we're so scared to do anything
but I also do love how he's already prepared to be able to backtrack and say nothing happened, because remember, they all promised, all of them. I don't know this guy, but I guarantee if you looked at it, he would have retweeted one of Tucker's things that
100%
that swore that if Israel strikes, it was going to cost American lives. And then if America strikes, it was essentially World War III. And now he's already gone, because he realizes it's probably not going to happen. He goes, regardless if there is a counterstrike, hold on, regardless if there's a counterstrike, that's all that mattered. That's all you've been harping on about. That's why you told us not to do this. So now you're saying, even if what you predicted doesn't happen, it's still bad because it put America first. It put Israel first, which it didn't. Yeah. But whatever.
Amazing point, right? Amazing point. These people will these people spend so much time moving the goalposts, right?
Ooh, where it's nice catch.
I caught it. Yep. So you know what? So like it's kind of like I saw the other day where it was something like I think it was Nick Fuentes. And I want to say, like, he was saying something along the lines of Islam didn't hate America until like the 1970s.
Ah, yeah, I saw that.
Right? And then it's like there's this other thing where it's like you go back to 1778, like 2 years after the founding of this nation, where it's like the Ottoman Empire took a bunch of American slaves, and then Jefferson went over and talked to the leaders, and they were like, "Why did you do this?" Oh, it's because the Quran allows us to. And it's like. Then if you bring that up, they go, yeah, but that's the Ottoman Empire, not Israel, not Iran. They move the goalposts, right? Where it's like, if you bring up a historical fact, they go, that's not relevant because that's not the thing. And it's like, well, so is it really the nation state of Israel created in 1948 that you people have a problem with? Because we just touched on this earlier, right? Why are you so obsessed with that? Why are you so obsessed with that one little nation the size of New Jersey in the Middle East? And why do you care so much about their politics? Because I've been talking about this war, and I've been talking about the Jewish people, and I've been talking about my support for them and against terrorism. But I could not tell you one single fact about Israeli politics. I can't tell you, other than Netanyahu being the prime minister. I don't know.
But we got to say, look,
Sneeko
is not dying for Israel. Donald Trump is a sellout.
The Muslim porn star.
Donald Trump is a sellout who betrayed America, says the guy that converted to Islam after being like this lefty. He was also one of those ones that used to push all this like woke stuff
Wasn't he in gay porn or something?
Maybe. It's just, look, and then they always say it's not about Jews, but they take a photo of somebody at the Kotel at the Western Wall because even showing respect to Judaism is Zionism.
Well,
favorite,
I was going to say the chair. So share the one of Modi, right? And I shared the one of Modi, and I go, India controls America because Donald Trump pulled out Modi's chair too.
And like 2 weeks after this, 2 weeks after this one, there was that whole thing that Trump was clearly playing a game, doing his thing, and so they were all going on about how Trump has finally dumped Israel. Like literally 2 weeks after they said that that Bibi controls Trump because he pushed in his chair.
Yeah.
These guys don't ever stick to their position. There's
You know what they say, right? Who was it? Mark Twain. I think a man who always tells the truth never has to remember what he said, right?
Yes.
And the counter to that is somebody who lies all the time always has to remember what they said, right? I don't have the same problem that they do, where you can't. It's very hard to go back into my post and find some type of hypocritical statement, right? Because I know what I said back then and I meant it, and I still mean it because I know what I said, right? Where these people, whatever's the trending talking point, whatever's the propaganda, whatever the email went out, right? So like they get the email that goes out to these influencers where it's like an anti-Israel narrative from some type of NGO or some type of influenceable campaign, and they go say this, right? And they just tweet it, and then they get their $500. They don't remember what they actually said. They don't care what they said. So that's why you constantly see their story changing and you see these goalposts being moved, because these people they're just mouthpieces.
I want to go back to a bunch of the woke right, but let's just watch what Al Jazeera...
As they built this horribly destructive enterprise, our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
It's a watered down
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Yeah, this is Al Jazeera.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace.
I want to see what
if they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done.
What'd you say?
And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace.
I mean, his speech was pretty short, so you can probably keep it going. It'll be over soon.
Yeah.
I want to see what their turn the volume down. Turn the volume down. I want to see what their commentary is after he's done speaking. But here, while that's going on, I took notes before my food showed up. I took some notes about his speech. Right. Number one was when he said a lot easier, right? He said there's more targets that will now be a lot easier to hit, right? So he's basically telling them, we're not done yet if you're not done, but you should be done. The other thing that he said was he went through the amount of soldiers that have been tied to Iran and Iranian proxies, over 1,000. Right. So this whole notion that Iran isn't our enemy, there's a clear pattern of behavior. The last thing I think that what was important to me, I don't know if it's important to a lot of people, but very important to me, when he said that he thanked God. Right. Like Trump, there's been this thing about Trump since he had that assassination attempt where he had here we go. Turn it back up.
Sorry.
Kimberly, More details emerging about the nature of those U.S. attacks on Iran. What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's right. You heard the U.S. president there talking about
She
how
looks pissed.
he and the Israeli prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, worked as a team. What we know is that the U.S. president reaching out to his friend Bibi prior to the U.S. strikes and immediately after. But that's not all in terms of the communications by the White House. We also know that there has been diplomatic contact with Iran, that, of course, the United States and Iran do not have direct relations, but we know that the Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, has been in regular communication with the Iranian foreign minister in recent weeks. So that is something, a protocol that has been broken. But what I could tell you is that the Trump administration reaching out to Iran, saying that the strikes that have just been launched in the last few hours are all that the United States is planning. We also know that the United States sent the message that regime change is not something the United States is seeking in Iran. So the message that was delivered was, again, the strikes that have been conducted are all the U.S. is planning at this moment, and regime change is not something that is in the calculations right now. Now, having said that, if Iran, and it is rightfully able to retaliate, that, of course, could change the U.S. calculation. But what we know as well is, in terms of what the operation was of those strikes, we're getting a better sense of what that looked like. We know that there were B-2 bombers that were flying in the air and that they were heading not just towards Guam, but they kept on going. Those are the aircraft that carry those 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. And we know that 6 were dropped on Fordo, and that the United States also used 30 Tomahawk missiles on the other 2 remaining Iranian nuclear sites. Now, we know, and I mentioned this before, that even though the United States is only planning the strikes that have just occurred, it is briefing its personnel in the region for the possibility of counterstrikes. And here's why. We know there are some 40,000 U.S. troops in the Middle East. They're positioned in Iraq, about 2,500 in Bahrain. That is the headquarters of the 5th Fleet. Kuwait has 5 different U.S. bases, smaller bases. Qatar has that very large, major Al Udeid base. And, of course, the UAE, home to the 380th Air Expeditionary, as well as 3,500 U.S. soldiers. All of those now become vulnerable. In addition, the U.S. was positioning assets to support Israel as it was defending itself from the missiles and drone attacks that have been occurring from Iran. That would include carrier strike groups. That would include fighter aircraft. And they have been active in those operations. So this is no question a major escalation. And again, the U.S. president saying that he believes, as commander-in-chief, that he has stopped the nuclear enrichment that is taking place in.
It's so funny because Bibi's done a statement. We can listen to that.
I just sent you probably the funniest meme to that account that you just told me to. Get that up right now because it's so good. You're gonna love it.
We'll watch.
Put that on the screen. You're about to laugh out loud.
What's going on here?
I sent it over to the Yemeni report.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull it up and then we'll watch. Bibi's done a press conference too. So what do we got? Iran. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
It is pretty funny. Let's go. What was?
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Listen. You got to laugh, especially because of the meltdown from all corners, and it's interesting that the talking points on Al Jazeera.
Well,
like Al Jazeera, when you watch them on.
No, so did you notice what they were doing? They were like, they were basically going like, so it looks like Bibi and Donald Trump are friends. Like it's like, yeah,
but it's all the woke right talking points come from It's the same thing. Like the woke right, like the Islamists and the far left.
It's the weirdest thing to try to put a wedge in between Trump and Bibi by pointing out that they're friends. I know. Like it's the weirdest thing. It's like
I'm reading super chats, but I want to read one comment just because I find it so funny. This random who's hate watching. There's no such thing as a woke right. How about You two go and fight the war. I did the last war. Bush thought that he wasn't being moved by Bibi. So firstly, I fought in wars. I was in the Lebanon War of 2005. I spent years in Gaza. So whatever, good on you.
Yeah.
Thank you for serving your country. Now to pretend that Bibi was the one who pushed Bush into the war. I'm pretty sure Sharon was the prime minister. So you guys keep playing that old thing that Bibi. Yeah, sure. Bibi's been highlighting the threat of Iran, and yes.
The alliance with Australia, the UK, there were so many factors that pushed Bush into that war, and Israel was not one of them, right? And it's like this is the thing, right? And by the way, I'm not a vet, so I haven't served, right? So thank you for your service, but also you can still get. I'm gonna
You can be wrong.
I'm gonna tone down my language, but you know what? Look, man. This whole thing of why don't you go to Israel and fight, if that's the only way that you can have an opinion is if you are willing to go and fight. No. My founding fathers in this country gave me my First Amendment so that I could try to solve conflicts with my voice, because they knew that once we stopped trying to do that, that's when violence starts. So I'm gonna say a big F you to anybody that demands violence first and not your voice, right? That's how I solve this problem, with my voice.
Here we got Bibi's statement.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
That's good,
Love
man.
or hate Bibi, he is a statesman.
Here's the thing. I say this all the time. I don't know about Israeli politics, so I don't really have an opinion on Bibi. But from what I have seen, just from an American perspective, somebody that doesn't try to get involved, I think that people like Nick Fuentes care more about Israeli politics than I do.
Oh yeah.
But from what I've seen, he seems good. I want to address one comment here on the chat. It's not super chat, but if they are woke, they are not right. It's an oxymoron. I'm going to give you a tiny bit of etymology behind this whole woke right term, so that you guys can understand why it actually does make sense. Woke does not mean left, right? Woke means waking up to an oppressor-oppressed victim mentality, right? So that's where woke comes from. Now, with the left, the oppressor is capitalism, the white man, evil, like Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera. With the right, it's Israel, Jews, globalism.
And they're noticing. It's the same thing.
Noticing, awaken, noticing, it's a synonym. So woke right actually works. And anybody who says woke right doesn't exist because woke is left, you don't understand that the woke movement was started by the black community, and they were calling themselves, we are woke, we are waking up to the white man keeping us down. Waking, woke, waking. Now, if you change out the oppressor in the woke context of oppressed, the woke right thinks that the oppressor is Israel and globalists. It's the same same thing. Caught myself again.
Nice save there.
So good, man.
God, he's doing well today. All right, super chat from Brett. Thank you. G'day, chaps. My Persian lodger is cheering the attack on the poison mushrooms, regime nickname in Persia. So they have somebody staying at theirs. It's Persian. That's the funny thing. And I did see there was, which I personally liked him, Paul. I get
Yeah.
on with him, but I saw him arguing with a Persian guest
Yeah,
about
he's
how much of Iran would be celebrating with, and we don't know. The truth is, we don't know the percentages.
I
But what I can
yeah.
tell you is there's no other. So you didn't. Comparing it to Iraq and Syria and all
Yeah.
this, you didn't
Well,
have
compare it.
you didn't have the same thing. You didn't have a diaspora of Persians all saying, "My family's
Yeah.
there." They're all cheering on Israel. They want the regime to fall. You
Yeah.
didn't have that anywhere else. The only time you
This is
had wanting regime to fall is something like Syria, but it was
Syria
jihadis
with
calling
Assad.
for it, not secular people.
So this is what people need to understand about this dichotomy over there, right? Iran is a very different situation than like I said, like the Assad regime falling was essentially two groups of jihadis who were both cheering it on. So anybody that would be replaced would be more of the same. In Iran, and like Avi said, I don't know the actual percentages or the numbers, but there is a very substantial population of people in Iran that are good people who want diplomacy, who want the regime change for good, not just the regime change for a different kind of evil, right? There are so many Iranians that are good people. That's why it's a completely different situation than, let's say, even in Palestine. Palestine, it's a vast majority support for Hamas. It's a vast majority support for the jihadis. And then there's a very small Christian population. There's a very small anti-Hamas population. There's good people in Palestine, of course, but it's a minority. And I think in Iran, if you were to take out their nuclear facilities, and Donald Trump said it, we don't want regime change. A regime change in Iran has a potential to be a good regime change, but again, that's all
It's a
up to
risk.
them.
It is a risk, but I'm
Doing
all for
nothing,
it.
doing nothing is more of a risk. Is
Exactly.
what I'm saying.
It's the thing is the current Iranian regime. I don't
It has
think
to
you
go.
can get worse. So
Yeah.
so the risk. I think the benefits outweigh the risk in regime change.
Yeah.
I understand America not wanting to do it and absolutely not wanting to do it in the way that has been done across the Middle East, especially through the Arab Spring. That's dumb. But I think that supporting an uprising of the actual grassroots opposition that has been every couple of years uprising, they already have a leader who is
Yeah.
like a super friendly freedom person that's ready to step in there. I think that really good things can happen from this. I am praying for the people
Well,
of Iran.
there's a famous quote by they say it's attributed to Edmund Burke or I think there's an argument over, it's just like the Napoleon quote where it's like nobody knows who actually said it. It's either Mill or Burke, but it says the only thing that's necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Right? And that quote applies to this situation more than anything, right? So there's this well enough alone strategy that you have from the woke right, where it's like, well, don't do anything because if you do something, then it's just going to be replaced with the same thing. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
The only thing that would be necessary for the triumph of the current Iranian regime, which we know is bad, is for good men to do nothing, right? That's what they want. The other quote, the other thing that everyone knows is the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist. Everyone that's saying that Iran is not a threat to America you're doing them a huge favor by saying that, right? Like ignoring the fact, I think I brought this up earlier. Here's my pinned tweet. Ignoring the fact that you have the Ahmad project, you have the Mossad document heist of 2018, you have the IRGC ballistic missile program coupled with 60% uranium enrichment, you have Khamenei tweeting out interests in possessing nuclear weapons, you have the Iran nuclear chief, this one right here, you have the Iran's nuclear chief saying just this year that they have the ability to create a nuke and they are just awaiting orders. And then the most important one is the IAEA non-compliance. Every time the IAEA has come in and tried to inspect the uranium, they're like, nah, fucking you can't. No, we're not showing you what we got. So with those things all in mind, then I don't think that you need the smoking gun. You just need to use the circumstantial evidence that we have that they're a threat. They're a threat to the Western world, but they're also a threat to America because their literal slogan, their political slogan is death to America. Death to Israel, death to America.
And for them, it is. It's been said a million times, and they'll ignore it a million and one times. But they've said
they don't mean actual death. Yes, they do. Shut up.
Well, not only that, they call America the big Satan. Israel's only the little Satan. So after they're done with America, Israel, they'll be on to America straight away. It's an ideology. You just don't get it. You're being naive if you don't believe it. Like, you just don't get it.
It's funny if Israel wasn't there. It's so funny how these people are so anti-Israel, because it's like you're literally just cheering for the obstacle that's in the way of these people who want to. Yeah. It's like, how about
Diego? Thank you for the super chat. We need to expect sleeper cell retaliation. Watch out for.
I wrote that down. I wrote that down.
I agree with you. And we do need to be watch out. We do need to watch out. And hopefully all the security services are on high alert, ready for that. But this is a threat that was always going to be there, and it shouldn't stop you from actually defending yourself.
This is a very very good. Yeah, very good point that was made. I think it was actually in the Al Jazeera coverage where they were talking about terror cells in the UK being activated. I would argue that there's more of a threat to the American homeland. Now, here's the other thing. If they do activate, that will 100% kick off, I wouldn't say World War III, but that's going to kick off some serious some serious
that Israelis fear.
I'm just going to bring you some footage.
That's going to kick off some serious retaliation. So if they're like, let's say there's a terror cell in New York City or something that goes off, that's going to be some retaliation. But I still don't think it's going to be World War III.
These are the first images we're seeing on the screen now.
I shared the ones.
Havaz, Iran.
What time is it over there right now?
In Iran.
Yeah, let me look. I'll look it up.
Freedom time? Freedom o'clock?
Iran. Tehran is 6:21 a.m.
So they're waking up now.
Yeah, I shared some ones that were dark, and it was still dark out, where it was the main facility that got blown up.
Yeah.
Did
you get that footage? You have that footage on your?
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now. I
also wanted to watch. I'll show you because there's something I found interesting. Firstly, we have to look at Candace Owens' reaction.
Oh, has she reacted?
Yeah. She shared Trump's fantastic.
Oh,
Trump is like the only one that the woke right, or one of the only ones that woke right can't ratio, because they go on about how they ratio everyone because they're so proud of their bots.
Well, because they use bots.
A full payload of bombs was dropped, followed by "Now is a time for peace." Utterly deranged. If we had raised the 100 million Addison gave him on GoFundMe, maybe he would have kept his promises. Guess we'll never know. She's such a gaslighting fool.
Hold on. Clearly, she has never been in a fight, right? Because this is exactly what happens in a fight. When you knock somebody out, right? And you immediately look at them and you go, "Truce? You done? Like, you good?" So when you drop a full payload of bombs, that's exactly when you go, "Now is the time for peace." Yeah. Like, you know you're beat, right? Let's have some peace. Or you could get back up and we can keep doing this dance all day. But she doesn't understand why those two statements together actually make perfect sense.
She's just coping, because this is going to be a problem for her. A problem for her is if this succeeds, which it will succeed. It will.
Her paycheck is gone.
It's just it, and she just looks like such an idiot. She's I think she's also dirty. She's if you've noticed since the campaign, since Trump's campaign, especially towards the end. She was kicked out of the inner circle. Like, nobody would actually host her. There was one thing that she was announced to be on Donald Trump Jr.'s one of his events in the lead up in the
Yeah.
campaign,
And they pulled her off.
and then they pulled her off, and she just like made an excuse like, "Oh, well, I'm unwell or I'm unavailable."
Yeah.
So, it's like
Charlie Kirk,
Did she-
he gave her a lot of grace, and then he even cut her off.
They all did. I think Charlie Kirk's probably still friends.
Charlie
with her.
Kirk's no, but Charlie Kirk's like, I think that she's like the godmother of one of his kids too.
Yeah, oh gosh.
And he will not associate with her publicly. So that's got to be bad.
So, but so for her, so she's out, and this is like her last ditch attempt because let's say Trump did everything. So either Trump did what she said, so backed down and completely capitulated, then she would have gone, yes, we won. You see, we have the power. Now her only hope is that she is hoping Americans die. So I guarantee you, she's hoping Americans die so she could say, I told you so. This was never America first. And when the fact is, this is the end of her. This is the beginning of the end of her and Tucker.
Well,
like they peaked, and now that Trump has gone against everything that this new woke right has said, and they're the leaders of it. Who's going to believe him after that?
So this is the analogy, right? They backed the wrong horse, first of all, right? And when you stand by your convictions, right, you never have to worry about this problem, right? Like if you consistently stand by your values, you can never really fall into this trap of being exposed, because at least you've been saying the same thing. At least you've been consistent. Like, so it's the Cuomo problem, right? The Cuomo issue. Right, you know how Cuomo was super duper far left, and now he's trying to migrate. He's trying to migrate to the middle, right? And nobody takes him seriously. So now he's got this like show that doesn't really get a lot of views or attention, and he gets a viral clip every once in a while, right? This is Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and the ilk. They're going to fade into obscurity, and they know it because they're gonna have to reconcile all of their current words.
Let's be clear. When you say they're going to fade into, they're going to turn out to be like the fringe right, like Nick Fuentes and all them are going to be put back in their place, and these guys are going to be alongside them. They're just not going to be accepted in the mainstream.
Correct.
Because the average person, see, the problem is till now, the average person who likes Tucker, who likes Candace, who either didn't see what was really driving a lot of their commentary, and were kind of fooled by it and scared. Like there are people that genuinely get scared by the stuff that they say when they realize, holy crap, they've gotten literally every freaking thing wrong on this thing. They're gonna wake up to it, and so the only people that are gonna stick by them are people who just blatantly hate Jews.
Tell me the names of a single reality TV star from 10 years ago, right? Where it's like, you don't know them because they faded into obscurity, right? When you shoot for 15 minutes through sensationalism, which is what they're doing, right? You handicap yourself because you lose all sincerity. There's no sincerity left in these people, and people are always going to remember that they weren't sincere. That's what I mean by, as long as you stick to your convictions and you're saying, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong about anything. If you stick to what you believe in, whether it's wrong or right, you can sustain.
I have a good 5-minute clip just by the headline from Al Jazeera that was published. It looks like maybe 5 hours before America hit, warning about the consequences of hitting.
We need to watch that clip.
Let's have a watch, because I just feel like it's just
that clip where the woman's saying that they will never bomb us, and then the bomb hits the media building,
the studio. That's I don't know what she's actually saying in that, but
I've seen the translation, and she literally says right before the explosion, she says, "No bomb will ever touch us." Ba-boom! Right? She shit her burqa.
I saw that. This is just like an Al Jazeera report from.
But Kelly is a former IAEA inspector who's worked in Iraq, South Africa, and Libya. He's currently a distinguished fellow with the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, known as SIPRI, and he joins us from Vienna. Great to have you with us, Robert. What are these dangerous repercussions that the Gulf states are warning about of targeting Iran's nuclear facilities?
Good afternoon, Laura. There are really no great concerns about targeting the facilities they've been targeting. They're releasing uranium or uranium powders which have a very soft radiation, won't be detected at any great distance. So when you see that there are reports that there are no increases of radiation in the area, that's exactly what you expect, even if all of the uranium in these plants is released. It's not a lot of material, and it doesn't have a long-range penetrating radiation. The one thing you'd be concerned about is that people would inhale it or ingest it in some way. If you get it inside your body, it's a chemical poison, and the people in the factories will have to use protective clothing. The people in the factories will look just like people did during COVID, putting on gloves, hats, gowns, and then be very careful how they disrobe.
Okay.
But I think you're going to ask now about Bashir, right?
Well, yes, that's what I wanted to get onto, because I presume what you're talking about there are the enrichment facilities, such as Natanz, which has been attacked an awful lot over the past week. But yes, the Gulf states, of course, are worried about Bushehr, first of all, because it's very close to the Gulf states, being just over the edge of the Persian Gulf, but also because of its nature. Can you explain that to us?
I think the thing you need to understand about Bushehr is there are two large reactors there. One is still under construction, and the other has been operating for years. And it would be very dangerous if it were hit with a bomb or the cooling systems are interrupted. You might get an accident on the scale of Fukushima, where the reactor would melt down inside its building and maybe release small amounts of gas to the environment. You remember, nobody was killed at Fukushima, and the radiation didn't go very far. But what people don't seem to be understanding is Bushehr is a town, Bushehr is a place. And if somebody attacks the town of Bushehr, it may not be the reactor. So when people are saying they're attacking Bushehr or attacking the reactor of Bushehr, it could be the one that's not finished yet. I think the Russians would have a lot to say about someone attacking the facility that they already built and the one that's worth about $7 billion that isn't finished yet. So I think Israel has to take the Russians into account in this case too.
Absolutely. And it should be noted that on Thursday, Israel very quickly retracted a military spokesman's statement saying that it had hit the Bushehr nuclear.
So what are the three sites? I'm just trying to look it up. Did they hit Bushehr or was
I don't remember. There was Fakaj or Focal. I can't remember. No, but you see, like the radiation leak, the contamination. They were like, "There's no detected levels of contamination after the site that Israel
they didn't hit Bashir. They hit Natanz, Fordo, which Fordo was the big one. That's the big one.
Fordo was the big one, yeah.
And Isfahan. So they haven't hit the one that they're talking about in that. So then it might be irrelevant.
So no. That what they're talking about, right? Was there was no detected levels of radiation when Israel hit Bashir. And they said that that's proof that there is no radiation, there's no nuclear enrichment above a certain point. And I'm like, well, that's because Israel doesn't have the bunker busters. Like Israel tried and attempted and they failed, right? So they destroyed the operation because now you got to build a new building or something like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they actually struck the reactor and created a radiation leak. With this attack that just happened, I would assume that the reports are going to be that that's Chernobyl now, right? Like you're not going near there. Like, so the attacks that happened today, that whole area is gone, right? Like if it was successful, like Trump said, and I don't think he would jump on TV and say it was when it wasn't. So that whole, so it's not like, so Iran can't.
I wouldn't bet against the might of the US with the intelligence of Israel combined in an operation. There's no way.
What I'm saying is they're going to be a lot of the people that made that talking point based off of the clip that you just posted. They now have lost that talking point because I don't know why they're even saying this, because it's already been confirmed that uranium enrichment is at 60%, which is 3 times the amount that you would need for nuclear energy. But they're essentially just trying to gaslight. They're trying to gaslight and be like, there was no radiation leak, so they're not even proliferating. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Look, there's like the tweet that you just shared.
I love how you're fighting. I've just noticed. I love how you're fighting on X. By the way, those of you watching this now, we've got 17,000. Give the Mispatriot a follow on X because his account is funny as can be. And also, while you're at it, go to Laura Loomer. Give her a follow at the moment because she's
Laura
fighting
Loomer,
on the front line.
Laura Loomer hates me, but I've gained a lot of respect for her. She hates me because I've called out her hypocrisy on a couple of things, but on this particular issue, she's been batting 1,000. And I don't even hate anybody.
I've known her for many years. In fact, you know the video that went viral.
Tell her to unblock me. Tell her we're
I don't know if she's how
tell her we're friends.
I'll tell her. But so you know the video where this was before it was popular, like anyone even knew who Ilhan Omar was when she was first running in 2000, and it must have been before 2000. Was it 2019 or 2000?
Probably. Who cares?
Anyway,
was it before or after she slept with her brother? I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably during. Anyway, so I was with Laura Loomer in Minnesota, and we rocked up. It was me, Laura, and there were 2 other women there, so 3 women and me, and we rock up to this Palestinian cafe place, like where Ilhan Omar was doing an event. And this is like when Ilhan Omar, no one knew who she was. Like Laura Loomer was like sounding those alarm bells early. It was as she was campaigning. And so we get to this Palestinian restaurant, cafe place. It was a restaurant. And they go, we sit at this table and we've asked for coffee. And they're like, we don't have coffee. The girls ask for coffee and they go, we don't do coffee. I'm like, oh. So the guy comes over. I go, oh, what do you mean you don't have coffee? He goes, oh, where are you from? And I go, I'm from Jerusalem. He goes, oh, you're Palestinian? I go, yeah. Bro, he went to the back, bought me like homemade beautiful coffee and a thing, the whole Palestine. Listen, Arabs are hospitable people if they like you.
Sure.
If they don't like you, they're your worst enemy and they'll poison you. But they brought out this coffee, gave us all coffee. I tried to give them $20. They wouldn't take my money. And then like half an hour later in that restaurant is when we were coming early to sit there and kind of and Ilhan Omar comes in and I was actually holding, so we had 3 cameras, like holding one of the phones, filming it was Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib, I think, on this campaign.
Oh my God.
And,
2 words.
And Laura Loomer's gone off it. It was his video that went the first viral video of Ilhan Omar.
She does not confronting people,
Yeah, of Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib. And then and the funny thing is, like, the Palestinians, when I was holding the phone, they were just like, what?
Wait a minute.
What?
Wait a minute. We gave you coffee. We gave you coffee and this is what you do to us?
These Israelis, they take everything. They take everything for free.
They take the coffee and
they took the coffee.
Turn on you.
Anyway, so my point is, look, I haven't always agreed with her style and everything, and I know she's.
I've called her out for her sensationalism, and I've called her out for her hypocrisy. But I do that to everybody. I'll do that to my friends. I don't care. I have.
But right now, credit where credit is due.
No, 100%.
I know she's not. I know she's not everyone's cup of tea, and she's
crushing
in your face, and she'll fight like. She'll fight in a second with anyone. But right now, Laura Loomer is exactly what we need, especially on X, cutting through.
I call her Harley Quinn, right? Where it's like you don't want Harley Quinn to be like the main character, but you definitely want her on your team.
Yeah.
Right? Like you want the crazy person to be on your side, and she's definitely on our side. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Who's tell me there's somebody's good reaction we can have we can just enjoy before we close tonight up, because I don't think we're getting any developments further than what's happened. We've got
I mean, the developments are going to be tomorrow. There's there's a press release, there's a press briefing, I believe, at the Pentagon, 8 a.m. That's going to be with Pete Hegseth.
No. When we say any developments, it's whether America gets involved in another strike. I don't see that happening unless Iran does something. The question is Iran going to do anything?
The only thing that they can do, and like I said, right, the only thing that they can do would be to activate a terror cell in the West.
I actually think more likely they're going to fire something at U.S.
Military bases over there.
Military base or something there, but it's going to be something.
Yeah, I think we would just brush that off, right?
I think it's going to be nothing serious. It's going to be a target.
Well,
They don't want want America in this properly. They do not want America.
I think the only thing that's keeping Khamenei breathing right now is not doing that, right? So Khamenei's going to have to make a decision, right? And Trump has put him between a rock and a hard place. It's like, if you attack America or if you attack Israel and an innocent civilian dies, you're dead, right? That's what's going to happen, right? So he's going to do exactly like he did to Soleimani, exactly like he did to al-Baghdadi. It's going to be an assassination. And trust me, it will happen.
My prediction, though, either way, Israel's taking... You know how they picked... Soleimani has already organized 3... they've replacements in case that was reported over the weekend. But
we'll kill one person.
I think Israel's going to take them all out at once.
Take them all out.
But,
exactly.
But you know what? Even if they just get Khamenei, the other ones don't have the power, the name, the brand.
When Khamenei announced, I made a tweet a few days ago. Khamenei announced, he's like, I'm appointing this person, and I go, you might as well put a bullseye on his forehead.
I know.
like you tweeted that. As far as tweets right now, I'm seeing on the main page, Ian Miles Chung says, "Pray for Candace Owens." And
that's actually pretty funny. I give Ian credit when Ian deserves.
When Ian was talking about how Syria is a better government than America, we just couldn't let him slide.
I like how Dave Smith has resorted to the. I'm sure all the Israelis doing it alone. People will apologize for what they were saying way back today. It's like,
okay, so I think this is a new tweet that you might have seen, might not have, from 31 minutes ago. Trump warns Iran any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force greater than ever than that was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald Trump, President of the United States. So that's what I mean by when Donald Trump signs off, he signs off in the third person, where he's like, it's in all caps, so you know it's an actual Trump tweet.
Oh, yeah,
because he always, anything that's in all caps is definitely Trump. But he goes, any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald Trump, President of the United States. Like, you didn't, like, we don't know it's you, dude. Like,
it's hilarious. You know what? I wouldn't mind tuning in. Let's tune in and have a listen to what on the Twitter space, I think it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a big one of the Charlie Kirk one. Let's listen to what they're saying.
Oh, yeah,
who they're having speaking, because that'll be interesting.
Yeah. No, let's check it out.
It's there. Hold on, it's not. I thought it's actually a space, but it's just a live. It's his live. That's
go to his live. Go to his live. Yeah. Charlie's been wishy-washy on this.
I know. Look, he's been very good on Israel, but late in.
I get what he's saying. I get the hesitancy, because I think that what
then
Charlie's
Americans.
saying,
I've seen people say this, but again, I want to caution people: the Iranians are not necessarily representative of Iran. If they're people who know English, if they're people in America, that's not the same as your ordinary rural Iranian.
I want to know whether he's supporting
We're live here on Real America's Voice, according to our team, which is great. Hello, everybody that is just watching. You probably already heard the news from, obviously, the United States has bombed Iran. I want to hear from you guys, freedom@charliekirk.com. Do you support this? Are you in favor? What are your concerns? Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Also,
he seems to be sitting on the fence a bit about this.
No, he is. He's sitting on the fence.
Guys,
I think that he's worried about
his voice. They've been holding it down really great today, and sorry for all the technical issues. Sorry to cut you off there, Blake, but I do want to just introduce a question here. How do we keep the coalition together? It's very important, Jack. We have to keep this coalition together.
What'd you say?
Charlie's worried about the midterms. That's why he's on the fence on
really?
This, right? And it's a valid concern, right? Because if Trump is like, I'm not the war president, and then he gets us into a conflict, everybody's antennas go up and go, I don't want.
But that's reading this situation wrong.
And
this is what I want to hear. It's so big.
For the base, for people that might be concerned on immigration, on border. Cernovich had a tweet about this. Jack, what needs to happen?
Well, Charlie, look, and I read Cernovich's tweet as well, and we've all been pushing for it. We've all been pushing for it every single day. Stephen Miller champions it every single chance he gets anywhere near a microphone, 1 minute on, or even 1 second on mainstream media, and that is mass deport all the illegals that are in the United States right now. Make and fulfill the promise and the mandate that was sent to the American people regarding this question of the massive invasion crisis and the massive.
All right, he's going to this. He's already pivoting like this.
I'm looking at his post.
Like way against it.
I'm looking at his post from literally 1 day ago. Every Middle East war ends with Christians slaughtered by one side or the other. Right. So he's pivoting now. Now that Trump has done it, he's immediately pulling a 180. Yep. He's immediately pulling a 180.
And
as far as I can tell.
Why is he so down? Like, why is he so?
He looks like he just got. He looks like he just got he just got kicked in the nuts. Like
he looks defeated like, because this. And the thing is, Posobiec's not even he's far from the worst of them. Far from the worst of them.
He's far from the worst, but he's
he jumped on. He's like one of the ones that.
Like Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, same thing.
Steve Bannon, but you know what? I think people need to look at each and every one of these influencers and commentators and understand what the motive is at the time that they do what they do. Like if you look at Steve Bannon, for example, like I don't know what his relationship with Trump is and how dirty he is about the fact that he's not in the inner circle anymore. He doesn't really have Trump's ear. The media tried to push up that he did. He was apparently going for a dinner or something, and they were saying he's going to stop the war. Clearly, he doesn't have much sway. These people are not happy that they're not in that inner circle. Charlie Kirk has been disappointing in the fact Charlie Kirk has been a legend through this war. He's been the only one on TikTok that's been able to counter the nonsense to the Gen Zs. But in the last few days, he's taken this fence-sitting position, which you're saying is because you think he's worried about the midterm.
I think I think it's a political. I
feel like he might also just be worried about his position in the right-wing thing. Like he's seen now. Like it's like they're all saying like his friends. Like I think he's still friends with Candace Owens in the back end. I have I have it on good authority that he is.
I think he is.
Which is fine, but. Then suddenly he's like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like, but the only problem that I have in that case is like, how did he not see that this was going to happen and that Trump was going to win this? Why would you put anything on that?
I can tell you with 1,000% certainty that any one of these people, right, that have grown to the level of Charlie Kirk, like Benny Johnson, I saw him, I met him in person. I didn't even meet him. I was just standing with him. In Atlanta, and like they're fake, right? And they're fake in the way that Hollywood is fake, right? Where it's like everything that they're saying online is based off of some type of messaging and like a perceived image. And then you get them in real life and you're like, oh, you're kind of not you're not the person.
You're not here.
But even still, right? I'm not saying that Charlie Kirk doesn't believe what he's saying, and I'm not saying that Charlie Kirk is a bad guy. I'm not saying that Charlie Kirk isn't a real Christian. I'm not saying he's fake in that regard. What I'm saying is
I think he's actually one of the only real ones in that group.
I think he's very real. What I am saying is he does consider things like what will my audience react to, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm saying that he might be slightly motivated by that, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a paid shill. It doesn't mean that he's
I don't know. That's why I'm saying like I think it might be a little bit of audience capture, but that doesn't explain it enough because audience capture should have got him a year ago. He's literally the only one.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So the only other thing that I could think is like maybe he didn't really think Trump can pull this off.
Maybe. And but I think that my theory does fit a little better, right? Because I think that Charlie Kirk may be thinking de-escalate, right? And maybe hopefully like here's the deal. With somebody like Charlie Kirk, now that this has happened, we know where he's going to be. He's going to be Team Trump. Right? Now that it's over, he's going to stop immediately. He's going to be like, "Well, Trump did it. So Trump did it. So,
exactly. Because in his defense, he didn't go too far at all.
He didn't.
The thing that made me lose a little respect is that he didn't do almost what Loomer did and goes, Trump is right. This is what Trump's been campaigning for 20 years. This is exactly what we voted for.
Laura Loomer, by the way, and I'm not trying to insult her. I'm not trying to, say anything mean. I'm just being completely factual here, right? Laura Loomer is a Trump, she is a loyalist, to the degree
he
where
can't do anything wrong.
To the degree where if Trump said something wrong, she would agree with it, right?
Yeah.
Trump. I have criticized Trump for his extending the TikTok deadline.
I think that's a fair assessment. And that's she would even boast that she is the most loyal Trump person, and I don't even think the Trump
loyal to a fault.
Yeah, loyal to a fault, because I don't think they've treated her as like to the point in which she deserves it.
I wouldn't. No, but listen, I wouldn't either. If I was Trump, I would be like, no, sorry, lady.
But she's proven herself as somebody that will back him no matter what. She'll never falter on that.
Yeah, and listen, I give her credit for that, but at the same time, I will also criticize her for it. Like when she said that, Biden was going into hospice and he wasn't. I'm like, you're hurting your own credibility, and you're on my side. I'm going to call you out the same as anybody else. But she's been right on this. She's been right on a lot of other things. So I give her credit when it's due, and I criticize her when I disagree. But at the same time, you got somebody like Charlie Kirk, who I would say is a Trump loyalist, where Charlie Kirk is MAGA and Agenda 47 and sees the value in it. And then maybe he really truly believes that this was a bad move, and he voiced his own opinion. You're allowed to have your own opinion. You're allowed to disagree with Trump. You're allowed to disagree with the agenda. You're allowed to do all of these things. It's the people that disagree with Trump so much because of his position on Israel, and then still try to play both sides, where they're like, I'm MAGA, but also F Israel. Nah, you're not. You're not MAGA. I said this in my closing statement the other night in the debate. I was like, here's two things you're going to have to get on board with, right? You're going to have to get on board with America is not ever going to cut ties with Israel, and they're not going to just hate Israel the way that you do, right? Just get over it. It's not happening, right? Number two, America and Islam are never going to be compatible. If you put those two things in your head, where these are two absolute facts, right? Islam is never going to be compatible with the West, and America is never going to cut ties with Israel. Start looking at your policies through the lens of that, and it'll make it easier to make your decisions, because it's like these people are basically asking for something that will never happen.
I found a better. That's what I wanted. I don't want to listen to these people's thing, but I found I want to hear the real coping by Suleiman and all those clowns.
Oh my God, yeah. I wonder what Jake Shields has said.
Oh, Jake Shields is
he's functionally retarded,
as predictable as possible. Trump turned on us, even though he was the one campaigning against Trump by the end of it.
No, it's funny. Oh, he goes, I'm glad I don't vote or endorse any candidates. Then why do you talk about politics?
All day.
Like, why do you, if you don't vote and you don't, and he shared an image of Trump and Netanyahu naked in a hotel room, in a gay scenario. Do you think America is destroying Iran's nuclear plants benefits America in any way? Yes. He reshared Elijah Schaffer. Oh my God.
Here, we can listen into these.
For all this time is because we think that we only lost it recently in 79, and that, there's been many paths to try to retake it through the reformists, through others. It's all failed, and we're entering a global economic crisis and a slowdown and a Cold War with China. And, these Likudniks, that specific faction of, the global ruling class, along with Trump and, British elites as well. They have this strategy that they're going to.
What'd you say?
Is that Soleimani talking?
No, it's what's his name?
It's some idiot in a space.
Yeah, it's Jackson Hinkle.
Oh my God, Jackson Hinkle, dude! I don't even think that he can come to America anymore without being arrested by Homeland Security.
They're coping so hard. Hold on, I'm going to try and bring it up so you can see who's talking. I don't know how to make it. How do you make it?
I have a very I'm very conflicted about Jackson Hinkle because I honestly think that as I'm a constitutionalist, right? Where I'm like I'm a free speech absolutist, where I'm like you can hate your country and you can voice your opinion about your hate for your country. Jackson Hinkle is the one exception where I'm like, as soon as that guy touches down on American soil, arrest him.
Yeah,
like arrest him for his words. Like, and it's like a very rare exception with me because I'm like, that's a straight up terrorist. Like he's a straight up like terrorist sympathizer and lover of terrorists.
Yeah, this is there we can see it there, so you can see who's
there
talking on the screen now.
Myron Gaines is in there.
Yeah,
you get the
all of them. This is the one you want to listen to them coping.
Procuring the elements,
there he is.
Refining it to 90% to weapons grade. They understand the entire process and have a bunch of scientists to do so. So I would not be surprised if they had other facilities that the U.S. or Israel might not be aware of, and use these facilities that were destroyed kind of as the scapegoat to be destroyed, so they can go ahead and utilize the resources. They try to build something else. I do think something else. I was just thinking about this as you guys were talking about, what might come out of this. I do think it's important to note here, besides, what might happen. We talked about the oil fields being attacked, U.S. bases being attacked. China gets a significant amount of its oil from Iran. And that is due to the fact that we have an adversarial posture with Iran. And China's not stupid. They know that once we finish up in the Middle East, the Pacific Asian territories was going to be what we're going to be focusing on next. So we've heard many strategists in the Trump campaign or Trump administration. You got guys like General Flynn, et cetera, that are saying that we need to be focusing on China more and more, and we need to get out of the Middle East. So knowing that, right, regime change with Iran would significantly hurt China. Because that would be a country where we could put our puppet government in and have our influence in there, and that would weaken
what is he talking about?
China's ability to get oil.
What is he talking about? Does he think that
they've got to take a new road because what they've been saying till now doesn't add up?
Well, he's saying that when we do this, we put a government in.
They're going to try to push for the regime change. So would China intervene to protect Iranian interests? Because at the end of the day, you can make the argument that Iran is kind of a domino that is in that could potentially knock China down and lead to the U.S. now.
What does he think? China's going to come in now back Iran?
China's not going to do shit.
If they were going to do anything, they would have done it before America got involved.
China's economy is being held up by popsicle sticks and bubble gum, right? Like this is what people don't understand. We're in the best position possible right now. This is what people don't understand. They act like America is so weak. Everybody in this space thinks America is weak and our enemies are strong, and that's the problem. That is the problem, right? They think that we are weak.
They really believe anything
I
don't think they believe it.
I think they're parroting talking points. Like I told you earlier, it's either out of a groupthink mass hysteria based off of a few creators who are getting paid through these proxy groups, like these NGOs and these influencer campaigns. And I think the rest of them are just dumb people that just repeat it. I think Myron Gaines is probably one of the dummies. I don't think he's making money.
I don't think he's making money off it, but I think he's one of the thought leaders of their group. I think he's literally making this up now, and this is going to be a talking point in which they're all going to go with. Because they don't know how to cope. These guys.
Listen to what he just said. What he just said was China gets a lot of oil from Iran, right? And they're going to look at this as a threat to their oil supply, and they're going to get involved, and they're going to start coming after us. What he's doing is he's fear-mongering some type of boogeyman China scenario where China doesn't. Listen, China right now is our bitch. They are not doing anything to us.
There's no way they're getting involved at this point.
No way. Their economy is on the brink of collapse. Like they look it up. Google China economy 2025. It's like their economy is garbage. They're not getting involved in a conflict with America because Iran just got bombed. Like, what is he talking about?
How
They don't
sexy do
know
they look?
anything. I know those things are amazing.
They're so
You remember that
cool.
movie? Remember that movie Broken? It's such a B movie, but
Look at that.
Broken Arrow. Remember the movie Broken Arrow with Christian Slater? It was like the B-2 bomb that made the B-2 bomber famous. Looks
It's
like
so
it
cool.
literally looks like an arrowhead. The B-2
look,
bomb. Dude, you have any idea how big that thing is, by the way? In pictures, you can't understand how big that thing is. That's a whole hangar, right? That that photo right there, that's an entire hangar. That thing is like a half a football field wide.
Before we close up, predictions now. What do you think is going to happen next?
Okay, here's what's going to happen. This isn't even a prediction. This is like an almost certainty, right? Trump has put Khamenei and the IRGC in such a hard place where they can't do anything, right? So they can't bomb Israel and create some type of civilian casualty because there's going to be a retaliation after they just got hit. They just got kicked in the you know what, right? So what I think is going to happen, and I'm pretty sure about this, right? Khamenei, they're going to lick their wounds and come to the table and negotiate with Trump and create some sort of a, like in their mind, like a temporary agreement. And Trump's going to accept. And I think it's going to be, within the next, let's call it 5 days. Within the next 5 days, you're going to have a statement come out and be like, they're going to try to posture a little bit. Our other facilities are still intact and we're doing fine, but we have decided to de-escalate and we will not have any further conflict moving forward with blah, 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 blah. Then they're going to still do the proxy, Hamas, Hezbollah, fucking like all the other stuff. That's going to still go on. But I think that this is a huge step. And like your boss said, right, there's going to be an opening for the Abraham Accords Part 2 that's going to be able to now be on the table because we've sort of neutered the main obstacle. So I would say over the next 5 days or so, you're going to hear a statement where they're going to concede and they're going to say no more escalation. And then I think over the next couple of months, maybe within the next 6 months, we're going to see the Abraham Accords reintroduced into an expand type of program. I think this is really good. I think everything that happened tonight is only good. It only has upside.
Yeah, I agree with 100% that it's only good. Will they do some retaliatory strike? I think they kind of have to for that to.
I don't think they will
save face. I feel like they're going to do something theatrical.
Maybe there might be like a, how. So this is how they.
I don't think they're going to hurt any Americans because if they hurt Americans,
what they sometimes do in these types of situations is they actually call up the U.S. and they say we're going to bomb them,
like the one that like the original counter strikes to Israel.
That might happen where they go, hey, get all your people out of this military base so we can blow it up. Just because I want to be able to tell my people we blew it up,
and then I'll come to the table.
And then I'll come to the table.
It'll probably be the pre-agreement to the to come. Yeah, I'd say that's it. Otherwise, look, in my heart, I'm hoping that there is some epic, final hit that Israel has planned.
It never works that way.
Listen, I can't. You can't stop me from dreaming. I hope there's something that ends up knocking Khomeini out, and that then there is a regime change from the people, from the grassroots people in the UK, in Iran, because that would just, you know what? I dream of a Middle East where I can go to Iran, and for it to be back to what it was, and a weak Iran opens the door, like you say, to the Abraham Accords extending to, Saudi and all the other ones that wanted to join, really, but right before October 7, and it all collapsed due to that. But Iran gone also means those proxies cannot build up. They cannot and you're talking about 20, you're talking about the future of 20, 30 years. Like those proxies have been knocked right back. Look at Hezbollah.
It takes a whole generation to do this, by the way. I mean, just like it took a generation to build up Hamas, it'll take a generation to break it down. And that's what I mean by it never works out that way. It doesn't work out like the movies. But I will tell you one thing. I can promise you 100%. If if Khamenei does get a little crazy and does some type of retaliatory attack where there's an attack on American soil, an attack in the UK, or an attack in Israel, and an innocent civilian dies, even one, he's dead. He's dead within
look, I hope obviously no Americans get hurt just so no Americans get hurt.
Of course,
but also I hope even more so to prove the woke right that your prediction, you can't even say your prediction. Yes, you said thousands, not even one got hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just like a complete win for Trump to do this, and he can flex. And I think the ultimate flex is if the regime does fall and that no Islamist takes over, and that there ends up being a friend to everyone who loves freedom around the world.
This is the picture. This is World War. This is going to be World War III in a nutshell, right? It's your lawn furniture with one chair tipped over, and we're going to go through this for the next week or so. And like I said, I think my prediction is, I think, like you said, maybe they'll do one of those military base attacks to save face, and we'll allow them to do it. But I think within the next week or so, Khamenei is going to come to the table and he's going to say, okay, well, we're not going to do anything, and let's de-escalate and let's work together. Let's create some sort of a thing. Now, that's not necessarily like you said, I would much prefer him gone, but I think that it's a better solution than starting a regime change, which is going to be a violent overthrow where thousands of people are going to die. Right? Because
I agree. I don't think we should start anything like that. If something's going to happen, I hope it's from the people, and it happens sooner rather than later.
In America, the midterms are going to be about, I want to say, a year and a half or so away, and the timing could line up very well for Trump.
It depends how it plays out now, and that's what he's going to be looking at. Trump is going to be looking at this. He wants to be able to capitalize on this politically, and I think unless
if we have
I can't see a way where it's not going to work in his favor, but unless Iran has really something that we didn't know they have, which they don't. There's no way. Even if they want to escalate, it's going to end badly for them very quickly.
Yeah. They're a paper tiger. They're a paper tiger. I mean, China, like I said, China's kind of a real tiger, where it's the things that they're warning about, if China decided to go to war, we would have a problem. But I think China's not doing that. They're not going to do that.
China's not doing that because they don't have the underlying, ideology.
They don't have a desire to.
Exactly. Yeah. China just wants to succeed in their system, which is a shit system. Yeah. But it's, unless you ask Ian Miles Chong, it's a great system. But it's everything we're against. It's a communist idea. But the communist idea, just like Russia, is not suicidal. Whereas
China's a long game type of player, and their long game isn't even going to work, where they're like, we'll take care of America in 20 years. They're not ready. We're not ready yet. And
my point is that they're not suicidal like Iran. No. Iran, at the end of the day, Iran will go down in flames, just like all the terrorist groups that they sponsor. Yeah. So the fact that Khamenei's still talking tough on X is just it's just what he's going to do till the day he dies.
Sure.
That's what's going to happen.
And hopefully that'll be.
But it doesn't actually mean anything. And I think that I hope it doesn't. I hope it ends properly. Right now we're in a good position. There's no nuclear. The nuclear threat is I'd say all but gone.
That's what I'm saying. The thing that we could take away from this before we get out of here. Here's what you need to here's what every person that's watched up until this point.
One second. The Australian government, we have been clear that Iran's nuclear ballistic missile program has been a threat to international peace and security. We continue to call for it, but I just like how they suddenly. They
jumped in.
They all capitulate until they jump on the winning side.
They're capitalizing. But here's what everybody can take away from this whole situation that just unfolded over the past few hours, right? If we believe what Trump just said, which I do, right, that those nuclear facilities have been taken out, this is done. Right. This whole argument of whether or not Iran will create a nuke is officially over. And that's all you need to know, right?
Yeah.
What they will do now is going to be nothing compared to what we can do back to them. So essentially, we just knocked over the king on their chessboard, and the only thing they got left is the queen, but they got nothing else on the board. So like it's like they can move one space left, right, up, down. But either way, it's ending in checkmate no matter what they do. So let's play. Let's
I agree.
be happy. Let's be happy about that.
I'm
Anybody
happy
that's not happy, anybody that's not happy about that, by the way, I don't know what you are thinking, right? Where you're like, oh, I can't believe that.
The people that are not happy pretend to love America. If I'm talking about from America, they actually hate America. Well, they hate Israel more than they like America. It's like that saying they love who was it? Was it Golden? He said peace will come to the Middle East when they love their children more than they hate us.
More than they hate us, exactly.
Yeah. And that's the same thing here. That's exactly the same thing with the woke right. Like this is a win. This is a win for Trump. This is a win for Israel. This is a win for America. This is a win for the world. This is a win. No matter what happens here, and I think that whether it is going to go to a de-escalation and a deal, great. Yeah. But ideally, from my perspective, I am more than happy.
Like I said, the bomb was the de-escalation. That's what I'm saying. Like it's already de-escalated. Now, like I said, the America
First says, thank you for the super chat, mate. Says there are massive floods in China, thousands dead. I don't know.
Yeah, they got their own problems.
Are there floods at the moment?
Yeah, there's always something going on over there.
Look, thousands in China, like nobody even knows.
Yeah, there's billions. Yeah, it's like that's nothing. No, but when people say America first, what they really mean is Israel last, and that's the problem. They hate that country more than they love their own country. And that's the problem, man. It's
has Tucker said anything?
Oh shit, we didn't even look at him. He's like
look at Tucker.
I think that Tucker.
He doesn't, but he's not like a tweeter. He doesn't do it like that. He'll come out with an interview.
He's not.
He'll come out with an interview to. Let's just do a quick search before we shut off for tonight, guys. Whatever channel
he is not posted.
On, make sure to subscribe, hit like, hit share. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you can go to Misfit Patriot. Where are you on? You're on everything?
I'm on X. X is Misfit Patriot _ and Instagram is The Misfit Patriot. And you can follow my Rumble podcast, which is going to be coming back next week after a couple of months off while I was dealing with personal stuff. Rumble /TMP Uncensored.
I'm looking at your tweets now. Yeah, guys, go give him a follow. You can thank me later.
Tucker
all the right
has not
people
posted
hate
anything.
him, so that's what you want. But Dave Rubin's tweet, imagine being American and being upset right now, sad. And
oh my God.
Dude, what is it?
Imagine this shit, right? Sarah Stock, which is Elijah's little ring girl. Donald Trump, all Donald Trump posted was an American flag. Right, he posted an American flag, and Sarah Stock goes, "This is insulting." Like, imagine
where are you seeing this?
I'll send it to you. This is insane. I'm gonna send it to you right now. This is how mad they are. They're so mad about this that Donald Trump just posted.
She used to be a rebel. I knew straight away she was like that.
I call her the woke right ring girl. Right, She's just some dumb blonde who's just sitting next to Elijah Schaefer, who's dumb as she is.
Okay, this is... Oh, my God.
Pull this up. This is insane. Yeah. They're so mad. Look at this. She's mad that Iran's nuclear facilities got bombed. Where she goes, when she sees the American flag now, she goes, this is insulting. It's not. This is like
America first, and America won. Why are you upset?
America just won.
Won?
America just won a fight, and you're mad about it. Mate, and we won the fight before it even started.
Oh, it's a good day for the world. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you see when we go live. If there is any urgent news, I will try jump on. I want to thank the Misfit Patriot. Make sure to go to his X and Instagram. Give him a follow. You can thank me later. I think he does some like entertaining, funny, and real good work at the moment. And the only way you need to judge it is by the people that get triggered by his
judge me, but judge Judge me by my haters, please. Thank you. All right, brother. I'm gonna go eat that food that showed up about an hour ago.
Oh, you should have eaten it while Trump was talking. Sorry about that. Guys, thank
you're
you for
good.
tuning in. God bless, and God bless America.
God bless Australia.
God bless
All right,
Donald
brother.
Trump, and God bless you all.
Peace, brother.